What if I told you that after you click submit, your resume may not go directly to a recruiter? Most people assume a real person immediately reviews every application, but today's hiring process often works very differently. Whether you're just beginning your career, working toward your next leadership opportunity, returning to work after years with the same employer, or even re entering the workforce after retirement, understanding today's hiring process has become an important career skill. In this video, I'm going to walk you through what really happens after you submit your application. When artificial intelligence becomes involved, when recruiters actually enter the process, and why understanding today's hiring system can help you become a stronger job candidate. Now, let's follow your application together. When you click apply, your resume doesn't magically appear on a recruiter's computer. Instead, it begins a journey. First, your application is submitted through the platform where you applied. That might be a job board like Indeed or LinkedIn, or it could be the company's own career website. From there, your information is electronically delivered to the employer's hiring system. So far, nothing unusual. In fact, this part of the hiring process has been happening for years, and it's probably exactly what you expected. But here's where things start to change. Once your application reaches the employer's hiring system, often called an applicant tracking system or ATS, technology begins helping organize the hiring process. The ATS isn't there to hire people. Its primary job is to help employers organize, compare, and manage applications, especially when they're receiving hundreds or even thousands of applications. That may sound efficient, but efficiency isn't always the same thing as fairness. Let's take a look at what happens next. Okay, now we've arrived at the part of the hiring process that most job seekers never see. Once your application reaches the employer's hiring system, it begins organizing the information you've provided. Think of it this way. Imagine a company receives 1,000 applications for a single position. A recruiter simply doesn't have time to read every resume from beginning to end. So the hiring system helps organize those applications before a recruiter begins reviewing them. Depending on how the employer has set up its hiring process, the system may compare your skills, experience, education, work history, and other job-related information with the requirements for the position. Based on that comparison, the system may assign a compatibility score or ranking to help recruiters prioritize which applications to review first. Some organizations may also use additional AI-assisted review stages before an application reaches a recruiter. The exact process varies from one employer to another. The hard truth is this: today's job market isn't only asking whether you're qualified, it's also asking whether your qualifications are clearly communicated and easily recognized during the hiring process. That doesn't mean the computer is making the hiring decision. It means technology is helping organize information before people begin making those decisions. Understanding that difference can completely change the way you prepare your resume. If your application makes it through the employer's hiring system, this is where the process becomes much more personal. The first person who may review your application is a recruiter. At this point, the focus begins to shift. Instead of simply comparing qualifications, the recruiter is evaluating the person behind the resume. They're asking questions like, Does this person's experience support what the resume is saying? Have they demonstrated meaningful accomplishments? Does their career history tell a clear and believable story? And perhaps most importantly, is this someone we should invite to an interview? If the answer is yes, the process moves to the interview stage. Now you have an opportunity to demonstrate qualities that simply can't be measured from a resume alone. How well do you communicate? Can you think through problems? How do you respond when you're asked an unexpected question? Do you come across as confident, professional, and prepared? Can you build trust and connect with other people? If you continue moving forward, you'll typically meet with the hiring manager. At this stage, the conversation often changes from, can this person do the job? To, is this someone we want on our team? Hiring managers are often evaluating leadership potential, judgment, adaptability, critical thinking, collaboration, and whether they can realistically picture you working successfully with their team every day. Every hiring platform comes with standard tools and features, but employers often decide how those tools are used to support their own hiring process. That's one reason the hiring experience can vary from one organization to another. The technology helped organize the process, but people are still making the hiring decisions. Technology may help open the door. Human judgment decides who walks through it. Now, here's the part of the hiring process that surprises many people. Every day, qualified candidates apply for jobs and never receive a phone call. That doesn't automatically mean they weren't qualified. It doesn't necessarily mean a recruiter rejected them, and it certainly doesn't mean they couldn't have done the job. Sometimes it simply means their qualifications weren't presented in a way that made them easy to recognize during the early stages of the hiring process. Remember what we talked about earlier. The employer's hiring system helps organize and compare applications before recruiters begin reviewing candidates. If your experience doesn't clearly connect with what the employer is looking for, your application may not receive the same level of attention as someone whose qualifications are easier to recognize. The hard truth is this: today's job market isn't only asking whether you're qualified, it's also asking whether your qualifications are clearly communicated and easily recognized during the hiring process. That's an important difference, because if your experience isn't presented clearly, a recruiter may never have the opportunity to discover everything you're capable of. This isn't about trying to outsmart technology. It's about understanding how today's hiring process works so you can present your experience as clearly and effectively as possible. The more you understand the system, the better prepared you'll be to navigate it with confidence. Now that you understand how today's hiring process works, let's talk about what you can do before you ever click apply. First, study the job description carefully. Don't just skim it. Employers often tell you exactly what they're looking for. You just have to know where to look. Second, identify the skills and qualifications that appear repeatedly. When you see the same requirement mentioned more than once, it's usually a strong clue that it's especially important for that position. Third, make sure your resume clearly reflects those qualifications whenever they genuinely match your experience. You're not changing your background or trying to trick the system. You're simply making it easier for the employer's hiring system and later the recruiter to recognize the value you already bring. Fourth, make your qualifications easy to find. If you've led projects, solved problems, improved processes, increased revenue, reduced cost, or earned certifications, don't make someone search for those accomplishments. Highlight them in a way that's clear, truthful, and easy to recognize. And finally, apply with strategy, not just volume. Sending hundreds of identical resumes isn't usually the answer. A thoughtful application that's tailored to the position often gives you a stronger opportunity to move forward than sending the same resume everywhere. Remember, the goal isn't to outsmart the hiring system. The goal is to communicate your qualifications clearly so both technology and people can recognize the value you bring. If today's video helped you better understand what happens after you click submit, then I hope you'll join me each week here on Genesis 2050. My goal isn't just to help you find your next job. It's to help you understand the systems that are changing the future of work so you can make informed career decisions with confidence. Whether you're beginning your career, working toward your next leadership opportunity, re-entering the workforce after retirement, or starting over after years with the same employer, you deserve to understand how today's hiring process really works. And if you know someone who's frustrated with their job search, please share this video with them. Sometimes one new insight can completely change the way someone approaches their career. If you'd like to continue learning about AI, hiring trends, leadership, and the future of work, I'd love to have you subscribe and join our growing Genesis 2050 community. Until next time, remember, don't just apply, investigate. I'm Lori Pritchard, and I'll see you in the next video.